Turn your head in Bristol and you're bound to see a name posted almost anywhere. Why do we see these names all around us? Who were they? What did they do? Why are they important? What's in a name?
For the next few episodes of What's in a Name, we will be looking at some of the more unusual names of areas in and around our city. In this episode, we take a look at Goose Pimple Junction and Skull Hill. We talked to Bud Phillips first about Goose Pimple Junction.
I get more questions about that place than any place around here. A man not too long ago called me one day. I didn't know him, met him. He lived way off somewhere, maybe New York, maybe Los Angeles, I don't know. He's a long way off. But he said, I'm writing a book on strange place names in America. And somehow he'd learned about Goose Pimple Junction. And he said, I want to know what your version of how that place got its name. Is your version? Well, I said, I've heard 2 or 3 versions, but they're all very similar. And I don't think any of them's totally wrong. I think they just kind of mixed up stories on the same place. But the most reliable source I ever got into was an old Martha Jane Hart that lived out in that area. She was right close to 100 when I talked to her, and lived there, born and raised within a jump of Goose Pimple Junction. And I said, Martha Jane, can you tell me the true story of how Goose Pimple Junction got its name? Why, yes, sir, that was always her reply. You know, sir, she said. Yes, I know that story. She said there was a man lived in a pretty nice house on one side of the road there named Jones. And he decided that he'd build an even better house. So he moved across the road to build another house, and he rented his old house out to a young married couple. Well, it turned out that the man was a wife beater. He'd beat his wife every day just about it. And the man living across the street, he'd hear it. The woman would be screaming and hollering, and the man beating on her. And he got talking around about it, and he said, every time I hear that going on over there, it makes the goose pimples rise on me. Well, eventually they got to calling him Goose Pimple Jones. And when the road came through there and made a square turn almost right in the middle of it, they called that Goose Pimple Junction, named after Goose Pimple Jones, who lived nearest to where the road made the bend. And I've heard other versions, but all of them will come to that point of some wife beater. And different stories will be told about it. But I think that's as close to the truth as you'll get about what this old lady told.
Skull Hill is a small knob located behind the fire station on King College Road.
You'll notice there's a high point there, and strangely, the road that originally was the road to Paperville and points beyond. And originally the main road ran up over that hill and down on the other side. You can follow the old road there yet. But what's became a country club where they played golf there for years, they were up along where the present road is. I mean, they reached up that far. Some people call it Dry Hill. After I wrote the article in the newspaper, a man said, I always heard that called Dry Hill. I said, well, that is one of the names of it, but they got to calling it Skull Hill for a reason. There was a gang of boys up there, and another gang in Kingtown, and others in town. And what really brought up the feud, these boys that lived on Skull Hill would get jobs of working with the people who were playing golf down there, caddies or whatever. Well, these boys from town would come up trying to get their job, and they'd start throwing rocks at them and run them back down. And one man's daddy made the remark, said, you better not come up here, boy, said, you get your skull cracked. So that's how it got the name Skull Hill. And I guess Dry Hill would be more of a dignified name for it, but Bristolians have a way of being realist when they nickname something.
If you ever wondered about the origins of the name of a particular area in or around Bristol, drop us an email at jdunham@bristoltn.org. We might not be able to answer your question, but we will do our best.